Hello, I'm Karen Todd Tests from Twitter. Karen Todd, I'm a software engineer in Kansas City in the United States. And today I've brought on Simon Tomes to talk with us about what software testing advocacy looks like. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's a great opportunity to chat with you today on a very important topic. So yeah, thanks.
Simon is the community boss at Ministry of Testing, and Ministry of Testing does a lot of advocacy work around the community, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Brilliant. No, thank you. I feel it's uh, such an important topic for us to explore and to get people thinking about like what advocacy means for the software testing craft. Because yeah, maybe it doesn't get talked about enough, and maybe we face as testing professionals we face a lot of challenges, right? And kind of the advocacy side of things, I think, can help address some of those challenges.
Absolutely. So let's dig in. What is a software testing advocate? I Googled the term, and there's not a lot out there. There's a little bit about helping drive quality in your business and helping um, just bring up the topic of quality, but there's not a lot about an actual position or the people that do this work, how they go about it, how they get interested in it, how they
Mm.
make a difference in the community. So I wanted to ask you first, kind of what does a software testing advocate mean to you?
It's a great question, and I feel it's actually hard to come up with a concrete definition. I find it's someone who has a passion for the software testing craft and naturally oozes that passion in everything that they do, whether it's like speaking at events, uh, whether they're writing about software testing, whether they are helping people who have questions about software testing. Um, they might be kind of connecting people up and going like, oh, there's this cool thing going on, you should check it out. Or actually, that particular part of software testing, I don't know, something to do with security testing, for example, perhaps you should go and speak with this person and that person. So I kind of, it does feel connected to a community type role. So it's
Hmm.
someone who is properly embedded within the software testing community who just kind of can't help themselves but be passionate about the craft and how it can benefit teams and therefore how it can benefit businesses and how it can benefit customers. Um, and I also feel they're the sort of person that has kind of is able to, and I'm struggling to do this ironically, is the sort of person that can articulate what it means to do good testing and what that actually means in various different contexts
Hmm.
and kind of be able to share examples, draw on their experience of having uh, been part of different types of engineering teams, whether it's like a solo tester or a team of testers or leading a team of testers or engineers, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, 100%. There's many people who do this very well who don't necessarily have the title of a testing advocate or a
Mm-hmm.
similar but different title. Totally agree. Just somebody who can really lead people to the testing craft and to each other, help build
Mm.
a support group around each other when it comes to these topics. So, you've already kind of touched on who this role might be for someone who has a heart for community and for sharing topics and ideas. I really enjoy that. I keep coming back to this item that you mentioned when we were putting this together, this genuine care for others in their
Mm.
communications, just
Yeah.
having a real heart for other people. Absolutely. So what skills would oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just you kind of made me think about that kind of when someone has that kind of heart for moving a particular thing forward, so a particular craft, and in this case, the software testing craft. I think that advocate will tend to like not try and lead on everything because I don't think they can. I think it's
Sure.
more about kind of what what could we co-create together? What could we work on together? Like you and I are doing this now, right? Like we are
Yes.
talking about software testing advocacy and the importance of it to encourage others to go, oh yeah, what does that really mean? Or do I do that already? Or what am I missing? Or what could I do? Like that I see is the magic when you get a couple of people, usually starts off just two people co-creating something together to sort of move a thing forward. Um, and that can involve conversations like we're having now. It could be all sorts of written posts. It could be questions to the community to sort of start conversations around this theme. It could be talks. I mean, there's multiple ways that kind of approach exploring a topic such as this.
Absolutely. And we're going to touch on that just a little bit later as well on how you can get involved with software testing advocacy. Because really, we're exploring what the role might look like,
Mm.
but really these are things that anyone can do, regardless of your role, regardless of how you fit into the community. Because once again, to come back to something else that you have said in the past, is that everyone has a story.
Mm.
So everyone has something to contribute, and I'm excited to see what comes out of this from others.
Yeah, I strongly believe in that. I was having a chat with someone in the community the other day, and they were unsure about putting themselves forward for a talk, and I,
Mm.
you know, I had to say quite frankly, like that they have a story to share. Like even if they think, oh, it's been said before, and you know, what do I know? I'm like, everyone's story is unique, and we should absolutely encourage that. Everyone's story is unique, uh, and I kind of understand why you're like, yeah, but I can't, you know, someone else, they're not going to be interested in this. But even if uh, people are willing and brave to put themselves forward, if what they share resonates with one person, that's one person that then can go on to then share with others and so on and so
Yes.
forth. Um, and everyone has a story to share. They really do. And it's unique to that individual. So I think advocacy really is also about encouraging people to feel brave enough and giving them the space and the platform and the support to tell their story in whatever format. It might be written again, it might be a talk, it might be a video, it might be whatever. Like there's so many different ways. And I keep talking about that, but I'm trying to encourage advocacy in uh, thinking about whatever medium works for you to share your story. Experiment with that, right? I think being brave to experiment in the medium that works for you, not necessarily what you think an audience want or what is kind of cool at the moment. It's kind of present yourself in the way that you are confident or feel at least some confidence to do so, because it has to work on your terms.
Of
Um,
course.
and you know, to reiterate, the community has got your back. The community wants you to do well, particularly when you're talking about moving the software testing craft forward. I would I would very much struggle to find someone in the community. It's like, no, we need to stay still. It's fine. We don't need to change anything. Like, imagine, right? I'd be very surprised if I found someone who's adamant that everything is perfect, everything is good. We don't have opportunities to move the software testing craft forward. We very much
Mm.
do. And I place a heavy bet that a good majority of the community are thinking in that way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Probably
That's
comes with the
why I'm here.
territory of us being testing professionals as well, right? Sorry to interrupt, Karen.
No.
Just kind of got me thinking about that.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with all of that because I wouldn't be here without the support of the testing community and the encouragements that I've received from other people. So really just reach out in any
Mm,
way. Anyone's story is valid, and the way that they choose to tell it, um, I would encourage to not just do what you're comfortable with, because I'm not comfortable with video.
mm,
Yet here we are, and maybe do little things here and there to just stretch yourself just a little bit, because we're
yeah.
humans. We change and grow with time. That's just the way it is. So, but as we change and grow, it's important that we kind of look at, we don't lose sight of where we've been. because we can
Mm.
always look back on the pieces that we've done before and do a little retrospective, as Richard's favorite word, on how we got to where we are now. And that can be so encouraging when you're struggling. So I really encourage people to reach out and see what's available out there. So, but while we're searching, there are some things that do come naturally with this sort of role, as far as like common skills that you would need to grow in order to be successful in a role like this. Um, and I'd like you to speak a little bit on the big one. Let's start with empathy.
Yes, empathy. I mean, empathy is amazing, right? That opportunity to, as much as it's physically not possible to step into someone else's shoes, but to try and make yourself available for that other person by understanding their context, understand their world, understand what's happening and what has happened to that person. Um, to try and kind of just build that connection. I think that kind of helps when it comes to people that are able to listen and truly uh, try to take in what another person is sharing.
Mm,
There's something about what's it I'm trying to say here. It's like we're in doing so. I think then as an individual, we then hopefully become aware of our own biases and our own
mm,
assumptions. And I think kind of seeing the good in everyone's current world or position of where they are and where they're viewing things and what their lens of the world is can go a long way with advocacy. So I don't know, you might make some assumptions about where someone is in their career or the type of company they're working with. Yeah, it's kind of as hard as it can be is to strip out all of that bias and then truly
mm,
understand by asking good questions, like where that person's at and trying to understand them. Because I think with advocacy, it tends to come from empathy and also kind of off the back of that, just building relationships with these people and just generally seeing opportunity for that person and seeing like not like all of a sudden saying, right, hey, you could do this, you could do that, what about this, have you thought about this? Like not just throwing a load of stuff at people, is understanding where they're at and perhaps then tailoring the opportunities that you might see for them
mm.
in a way that would resonate for them. It's hard to do that. It is hard to do that. I can, yeah, I struggle with that in my role. I try my best, but it's trying to be sensitive of the other person and where they're at as far as
Mm,
are they ready for all the stuff that you could share about, oh, there's this stuff you could do and what about this and have you considered this and they're doing that amazing thing over there and blah 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 and get over
mm-hmm.
there and you should be doing this. Like too much, right? So there's
Sure.
yeah, that fine that there's a fine balance to be found. I think that comes from having empathy and truly understanding like what challenges is that person facing, what is on their mind,
Mm,
what's worrying them right now, what opportunities they see, where do they want to grow, or whether
mm-hmm.
they not know of where they want to grow. So it's kind of yeah, a lot of listening, a lot of asking questions, and a lot of listening. I think can go a
Yes.
long way with this type of role.
I'm glad you mentioned that, specifically asking questions, because I feel like that is such a solid core of being a software test engineer, is knowing not only what questions to ask, but when it's appropriate to ask those questions.
Yeah,
Um, so oh, that's a whole topic unto its own.
yeah, it really is. I mean, yeah, I feel that not yet, more and as testing professionals, I feel we're very well positioned to leverage our skills at asking questions, right? If you think of, we're our role of asking questions to reveal useful information to help us make decisions about risk.
Mm,
Like when it comes to advocacy, we can really think of it in turn. We can use our testing skills to apply to how we advocate by asking questions, understanding like what's important to people and what opportunities we can spot for them. So I
Yes,
feel there's a nice connection there with our ability as testing professionals to ask questions.
absolutely. And being an active listener and a part of these conversations kind of leads naturally into relationship building. And
Mm.
having an open source of conversation with others is so important when you're passing on complex information because you need to understand where they're coming from, what their perceived level of understanding is, different things like that, so that you can break it down in a way that they will hopefully get some value out of. So those all tie in so well together. I really appreciate this conversation because this is very good. And these skills are not necessarily, they can be things that you bring with you to the testing craft, but if you don't have a lot of experience in these types of engagements, practice. We'll
Yeah.
talk about a little bit more of that when we get to what you can do as well here in just a minute, but just just practice.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in taking a bit of a bold step. And to your point earlier on about kind of being a little bit uncomfortable with something, I feel if you are really thinking, advocacy, yeah, I feel very passionate about the testing craft, but I'm unsure how to advocate for this within my company or beyond my company or in the community. It does take a bit of bravery, right? It does take a bit of
Mm,
experimentation and thinking like, well, let me assume if I do this thing that these things will happen. Okay, how would I go and test that? If I think of experiment mindset, how would I go and test it? Okay, I could go and talk to 5 people about this thing, or I could do a talk on this thing, and then imagining what the outcome would be and then just trying it because I think
yes.
we would never know, right, without trying it, what the outcome would be. And we may surprise ourselves that it absolutely matches our assumption and our outcome that we
Hmm.
thought. We may reveal something that's like, I didn't expect that. Or it may be like, yeah, that was total mess. I've learned a lot from that. And what that reminds me of is testing, right? Like, how
Yes.
many tests can we run where we're like, well, I didn't expect that to happen, or that was no, that's just rubbish. Like, that's not, this isn't working. I need to do something different, or we need to go back to the drawing board. Like, and I feel there's so much synergy with the actual role of being a tester with
Hmm.
advocacy, about being thinking in terms of running tests to reveal something that you're never going to know until you try it, right? we can
Yes.
we can come up with a whole ton of test cases, but unless we run them, we're not going to know the outcome.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, goodness. And there's so many people who do this very, very well. Like I was saying earlier, even without the actual title of like a testing advocate, there are people in this community and organizations that really share their knowledge well and help show the value of the testing craft to a wider community. Specifically, I just called out a few people here. There's so many. We could do a whole video just on people
Yeah,
who have done well in this area. But
totally.
I wanted to specifically call out people like Alan Richardson, who have created training courses for people who come after to share his knowledge, and through his book, Dear Evil Tester, and Lisa Crispin, who worked with Janet Gregory on agile testing and now has her own consulting work where she can actually take everything that she's learned and apply it to many organizations and many people to help support them in their growth. And there's organizations like, of course, Ministry of Testing and Test Automation University, who are industry recognizable for the work that they do and the certificates that Test Automation University generates, the courses that Ministry of Testing puts on, the talks that you and Richard lead. They just I really enjoy seeing the new things that crop up from people, because it's not like Alan and Lisa have learned everything there is to know and now they're sharing it with the world. It's they're still learning as well, and they're
Mm.
still learning in public a lot of times,
Yeah.
which is another really great thing that you can do if you're not really quite sure how to get from A to B, how to get into this role. Just do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that point you make about learning in public, I feel is very powerful,
Mm,
particularly from if you want to build, if you just want to build good connections with the community in a positive way, you kind of being a bit vulnerable and putting yourselves out there saying, look,
mhm,
I don't know about this. Who can help or where should I go? Because yes, the people that reply to that will point that person in a direction, but all the other people that are reading it, all those that aren't, actively part of the conversation, you might refer to them as lurkers. It's one terminology that they're there still checking out that stuff, going, oh, okay, I'm not going to get involved in this conversation because I don't want to, or I'm not confident to, or I've got other stuff going on. Many other different reasons why people lurk,
mm.
in a positive way. I use that term positively,
Oh,
uh, and they will still get some value from that because that person who is advocating is sharing that they're open to learning stuff and they want to learn about this thing. So it kind of has this incredible knock-on effect to those who are just consuming this information and not at that stage, wherever they are in their career, contributing. They're still contributing in a way because they're still part of learning, and eventually perhaps somewhere down the line they may pass that knowledge on, or it may spark something in them to create their own set of knowledge which they then
mm,
go and share. So it's like I
mm.
really feel it's much more about the long term than the kind of immediate, um, I as an individual need to learn this thing. I feel it goes way beyond that initial I now need to learn this thing. So further, it goes so further.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I personally have a little bit of experience with learning in public. Just as soon as I started software testing, I found the community and found that this was a common theme through the community was learning in public. And it was my goal when I started learning in public to share some of the struggles that I had with some of the
Mm.
learning that I was doing so that people who come after will go, oh, okay, there's an issue with this. Here's how to solve it. This person has already collected this data in this area for me so I can be successful. And that's part of what you can do to share your learning and to collaborate by just specifically putting out your experience. I did this training course. I had to do this to make it work. Here you go.
It's great. It's great. And that will make such a difference. And what I like about that approach is that for those that are considering getting into a more uh, software testing advocacy role, they're if they're really focused on that, they're observing what good advocates do and
Mhm.
kind of going, what behaviors do they demonstrate? What sort of things do they get up to? Um, how do they interact with other people? And through that observation, you can kind of go, I hadn't, that's a cool way of doing things. Like, they're learning in public. Clearly they're talking about the craft and helping moving it forward because they're learning about it and then reflecting on their learnings. And I
Mhm.
think through people observing that, if they're thinking it in terms of let's observe how people behave, not in like a weird way, but just as another learning way, meta learning way of what does advocacy mean,
Mhm.
we can draw so much learning from the people who are advocating already, is what I'm
Oh,
trying to say. I could have said that in a much shorter
yes.
way.
No, that's absolutely right. We can learn from everyone, even if they're not an active, even if they're not actively contributing to the knowledge base of the community, there's still so much opportunity for people to model behavior
Mm,
and things like that, so that other people can once again see them and follow in their footsteps, maybe not in a predetermined learning pathway, but in a way that, I don't know, stimulates a conversation in what works well.
mm,
What works well. Um, so basically, anyone can get involved in this. You don't have to create this role for yourself. You don't have
mm,
to ask your boss to change your job description. All you have to do is be involved, be a part of the conversation. Um, Even if it's just taking in information and processing it in your own way, that's still being involved. That's still being part of the conversation because you're listening.
Absolutely is. And I think it's really important to reiterate that. I can imagine a lot of people in the community, and I know this, that people feel pressure to contribute, to
Mm,
constantly write that blog post, put out a video, share your opinion on the latest approach or an approach that's been around a while that you've kind of questioning.
mhm.
And that pressure is real, like it is real. And I think I like to reiterate that as a community, try and make it work on your own terms, whatever you're comfortable or whatever is happening in your world. Share or be part of the community in whatever way works for you. And it's, of course, there's always going to be people that are just so super active and they're everywhere. There will always be those people, right? And that's cool. And they are amazing people. Like I'm not discrediting them because of they're everywhere. They are awesome, right? And they do
Mhm.
amazing things to the community. And we should be very grateful for those people. If you feel like, you know what, that's just too much, then cool. It's absolutely cool. As you say, Karen, being a listener, being someone who is just consuming and observing, at some point, maybe in your career, you'll be like, you know what, I will try and write something. I will put a video out there. I will uh, create an abstract to try and speak at an event, to try and inspire some people. Or, I might do an internal talk to someone in my team, like one person. Like
Mhm.
that is cool, right? So it's kind of like seeking inspiration from those that are very active, yet really kind of not setting that amount of pressure on yourself to be
Yes.
that person, because you are an individual and you have your own story to share, and it has to be on your terms. It really does. And
Mm.
knowing that the community has got your back in whatever form that comes in is really important. And that's the cool thing in a role where you are advocating. You do tend to start spotting patterns or observing those that are sharing good things, and you kind of joining things up and helping people connect.
Mhm.
And then hopefully that lifts up those that aren't quite ready to make that step to start sharing stuff. But when they
Yes.
do, they know they've got that support already there. It's just ready to go. And you just have to ask, as you mentioned earlier on. Um, and anything is possible, right? And it's cool that the community is there that hopefully enables that. And I really do hope
Mhm.
people feel that. But it's kind of
Me
just
too.
that pressure can feel real, and it's good to acknowledge that. I feel.
Absolutely. So, if anyone's watching this video and they get inspired to contribute to something, is there an easy way for them to start contributing to Ministry of Test?
Yeah, I mean, miniature testing as a community, there's many ways to get involved. From joining the miniature testing club, which is our
Hmm.
forum. This is a great place to ask any question related to testing or answer any question related to testing. The place exists forever. You can search for lots of previous conversations and keep the conversation going. It's a lovely way, actually, to uh, thank someone for something they did many years ago. This is a good one for advocacy, actually. Just a little short tip: find an old post, and if it's helpful, reply with thanks, this has helped me. Because the person who wrote that a few years ago would be like, oh wow, this is still helpful, this is cool. And that naturally builds that momentum to start the conversation again. So that's one place. I think for all things miniature testing, go to excuse me, miniaturetesting.com. There's a great community timeline. You can see blog posts that are being posted, stuff happening on the club. We pull in any new articles or videos or talks that are kind of been published. Um, there's also the Ministry of Testing Slack, which is great for kind of live real-time chat. So that's also available from miniaturetesting.com. And yeah, various different events that we run. So we have all sorts of meetups across the globe. Meetups are also a very good way to kind of see what's going on in the community, to kind of lurk and listen and learn. And then meetups tend to be a really good platform if you want to start speaking at bigger events. You could try
Ah,
speaking at a meetup first, see how it goes, and then take that talk and apply it to bigger events that are out there. So that's another another way to do it. But yeah, and hanging out on all the different social platforms like on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter and LinkedIn, lots of good conversations happen. Particularly, I have a bit of a bias, but a big fan of Twitter as far as the testing community goes on Twitter is
Mm-hmm.
very vibrant. Lots of good conversation happening and lots of good connections being made. In fact, I think that's how you and I met, was through Twitter. So
Yes, yes. That's all great advice. I really appreciate you coming on today and talking with me about this topic. I'm excited to see what other people have to think now that we've kind of lined out what this could look like. Um, who's going to take it and run? Who's going to be the next person? I'm excited.
yeah, likewise. I feel again this emphasizing the power of co-creation is starting a conversation like you and I are having, and seeing what it sparks in others,
Hmm.
to kind of keep the conversation going and see the different directions it could go in. And this could become a series of blog posts.
Hmm.
It could become a talk in of itself. It could become a whole like training curriculum off the back of it, how to
Absolutely.
get into advocacy. There's so many opportunities of where it could go. So yeah, it's exciting. So I'm just grateful that you're up for a chat, Karen, and yeah, thanks for setting this all up, and it's been great.
Absolutely. If you would like to continue the conversation with us, please connect with us on Twitter, or on the club, or anywhere where testers meet. Reach out and say hi if you'd like to join as a guest. If you have something to say, if you have a question, if you have a topic that you think might do well in a conversation like this. So give me a buzz. Thank you again, Simon, for being here. I'll see you another time.
Cheers, Karen.